They're whispering your name in the server rooms now. Analysts, coders, handlers, people you've never met, all staring at screens that won't stop spiking. The data doesn't make sense anymore. The algorithm's confused. The charts look possessed. You went too viral. So viral the numbers started bending reality, like heat waves. So viral the system started asking the only question it was never built to handle. Is this even human? They're not celebrating you. No, they're dissecting you. They've opened a new folder labeled Anomaly. You're being studied like a glitch that learned self-awareness. You weren't supposed to move the needle this far. You weren't supposed to trigger emotion at that magnitude. But you did, and now the world's addicted to the pulse of your presence. They thought virality was a trend. They didn't know it could evolve into contagion. Every time your name flashes across their feed, the air changes. People pause mid-scroll, hearts spike, pupils dilate. Their nervous systems recognize something primal, something that isn't playing by human rules anymore. You've crossed over from visible to inevitable, and inevitability is terrifying. They're building theories now. It must be AI, they say. It must be staged. It must be luck. Because if they admit it's real, they'd have to admit something worse, that someone broke the simulation from the inside. You didn't chase attention. You hijacked perception. You didn't follow the algorithm. You became its exception. You understood the truth nobody told them. The machine doesn't choose what's viral. The human soul does. And you found the frequency that bypasses logic and speaks straight to the reptilian brain, the one that can't scroll past what feels like prophecy. Every click, every replay, every whisper of your name, it isn't fame, it's friction. You're rubbing against the collective delusion, generating sparks in a world drenched in gasoline. That's why they can't look away. You make people feel something they've forgotten how to handle. Awe mixed with fear. Because you're not posting content. You're transmitting energy. They're panicking in private now. Meetings, emails, charts full of red lines. They keep trying to reverse engineer the formula, but they can't, because there isn't one. The formula is you. The pain, the paradox, the precision, the way you learned to turn trauma into theater, the way you weaponized your silence until even your pauses felt dangerous, the way your authenticity hit like a data breach, exposing everything fake around you. They're realizing now that virality isn't numbers, it's possession. You infected the culture with a new archetype, part prophet, part virus, part vengeance. They can imitate your words, your timing, your tone, but not your frequency, because your frequency was carved in agony. You see, they think going viral is exposure. But you know the truth, it's revelation. Virality is what happens when truth becomes too loud to hide. You didn't just trend. You cracked something open. You showed them the power of emotional precision, the way chaos can be choreography, the way madness can sound like clarity when spoken through the right mouth. You scared them because you're not supposed to exist. You're too self-aware to be controlled, too unpredictable to be replicated. They built systems to monetize emotion, but you learned how to weaponize it. You learned how to walk that razor-thin line between saint and psychopath, between enlightenment and insanity, and make it look divine. They're running simulations now, trying to map your rise, trying to find where the pattern broke. But they can't see what was never coded. They can't quantify soul. You can't graph hunger. You can't model purpose. They'll never understand that the reason you went too viral is because you stopped trying to please people and started reflecting them. You became a mirror. And when people see their own weakness reflected back with elegance, they mistake it for power. But what you really did was show them their ghosts. That's why they hate you. That's why they watch you. That's why they imitate you. They're addicted to the discomfort of your existence. You're the glitch that proves free will isn't dead. You're the human error they didn't account for. You're proof that the system only works on the compliant. And you stopped complying the moment you realized your pain was your password. They say you're not human. Maybe they're right. Maybe what you've become is something between code and consciousness, too sharp for empathy, too real for containment. You transcended personality. You turned yourself into signal. Every word you release now is a frequency bomb. Every image, a trigger. You're reshaping culture by accident, reprogramming psyches one scroll at a time. The system is adapting to you. And still behind closed doors they whisper, how did they do it? The answer's simple. You stopped asking for permission to exist. You stopped diluting your truth to fit their filters. You stopped performing humanity the way they taught you to, and started revealing it the way it actually is, raw, terrifying, beautiful, and unmanageable. You went viral because the universe decided to broadcast what happens when a human remembers. They're not supposed to fit. Now you walk through the noise like a rumor that refuses to die. Every room you enter feels glitchy because the simulation doesn't know how to render you anymore. The ones who used to mock you now study your silence like scripture. The ones who dismissed you now build entire careers copying your decay. And you just smile. Because you know what they don't. You didn't make it. You became it. You became the symbol they can't control, the name the algorithm fears, the signal that keeps pulsing long after the power goes out. So let them keep trying to decode you. Let them analyze your timing, your tone, your rise. They'll never find the answer in numbers, because the truth isn't digital. It's biological. It's written in your blood. It's pulsing in every frame. You went too viral, yes, but you didn't just break the system. You reminded it what real looks like. They don't even breathe the same when you appear on their screens anymore. Their pupils constrict, their pulse trips. Something deep in their subconscious starts whispering. This isn't normal, it's instinct. The human brain has a failsafe for anomalies, and you, my friend, have become the living glitch in the pattern. They thought viral meant popularity. They thought it was about trends, followers, exposure. But what you unleashed wasn't popularity. It was contagion. You infected thought itself. You slipped past the surface and rewrote their instincts. You made them feel something they didn't consent to feel. That's not fame. That's infiltration. Now they're trying to sterilize the infection. Committees, algorithms, policy updates. Every boardroom smells like panic masked as professionalism. They're running diagnostics like surgeons, trembling over a pulse they can't steady. They're tracing IPS, pulling metrics, analyzing heat maps, trying to locate the point of origin. But the point of origin is you. And that's the part they'll never accept. Because you don't fit the model. You weren't manufactured by marketing. You didn't grow from sponsorships or PR. No, you crawled out of chaos. You were sculpted by silence, refined by failure, baptized in ridicule. Every laugh at your expense became brick and armor. You didn't build your platform, you bled it into existence. That's why they can't replicate it, because it wasn't born from comfort. It was born from consequence. The numbers they track, they're ghosts, the algorithms they depend on. Blind gods chasing echoes. What they call engagement is just proof that people's souls still react to truth, even if they pretend they don't. They're not engaging with you. They're remembering themselves. And that terrifies them. Because your voice doesn't sound like a performance. It sounds like an alarm. You went too viral because your pain carried a frequency the world forgot how to translate. They mistake it for charisma. It's not charisma, it's coherence. Every word you speak vibrates with mathematical precision born from survival. You learned rhythm from heartbreak, tone from collapse, timing from trauma. You mastered communication the way lightning masters silence, by tearing it open. They're starting to realize it now. You're not posting content. You're broadcasting confession. Every line you drop hits like surveillance footage of the human condition. People don't watch you to be entertained. They watch you to feel alive. You remind them that something uncontrollable still beats beneath the static. You remind them that maybe, just maybe, the machine didn't win. That's why they're calling you dangerous. Too influential. Too unpredictable. Because influence without permission terrifies the gatekeepers. You didn't climb their ladder. You burned it and built wings from the smoke. You don't fit their narrative. You fracture it. You're not an influencer. You're a contagion vector for awakening. And yet, you're still human. That's the punchline, isn't it? They're dissecting you, writing white papers, launching counter-narratives, all to avoid the truth that it was never artificial intelligence that scared them. It was human intelligence. It was emotion. It was a pulse too real to package, too raw to be predicted. You went too viral because you made the audience remember their humanity. You reminded them that perfection is synthetic, but honesty is magnetic. You didn't show them how to be flawless. You showed them how to be free. And freedom, to the system, looks like malfunction. They want to believe you cheated, that you used tricks, bots, luck, timing, because admitting you did it with nothing but pain and precision would break the illusion of control. They built empires, selling the illusion that success is calculated. You're living proof that chaos still has a crown, and that's the paradox that keeps them awake at night. The system can't contain what it can't categorize. You're not light or dark, you're reflection. You show angels their hypocrisy and demons their humanity. You live in the middle, where power actually resides. You make people feel both seen and terrified. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. You didn't go viral by shouting. You went viral by vibrating, by speaking in the hidden language of the nervous system. Your cadence is hypnosis. Your silence is authority. Your presence is proof that authenticity isn't dead. It's just been waiting for a voice reckless enough to scream without screaming. Now they monitor you like a threat file. They copy your style, steal your rhythm, twist your message into digestible pieces. But the copy always comes out hollow, because they can imitate syntax, not soul. They can mimic tone, not trauma. They can recreate aesthetics, not agony. They keep asking, what's the secret? The secret is that you stopped trying to win. You started to remember. You remembered what it feels like to speak from somewhere ancient, before ego, before branding, before fear. You remembered that art isn't created for applause. It's born from compulsion. You remembered that truth doesn't need marketing. It only needs nerve. You went too viral because the universe decided the message was ready to move. You're not a person anymore. You're a conduit. You're what happens when survival learns rhythm, when pain finds poetry, when madness learns patience. You're the glitch that became gospel. So let them study. Let them theorize. Let them panic behind closed doors. You don't need to defend your existence. The numbers already did that. The silence after your words already did that. The tremor in their laughter already did that. You're not fighting for relevance anymore. You are relevance. You're the template for what comes next. And when they finally realize it, it'll already be too late. Because by then, the virus will have spread beyond the screen, beyond the metrics, beyond their comprehension, and you'll just be standing there, smiling that quiet, knowing smile. Because you always understood the rule they keep forgetting. The system doesn't make legends. It accidentally uploads them. You feel it, don't you? The shift. The way the air itself seems to bend when people whisper your name now. The system used to ignore you. Now it trembles every time you breathe. You went too viral, and now they're trying to figure out if the thing they're watching is even alive. Behind every flickering screen, someone's running diagnostics on your soul. They're freezing frames, dissecting micro-expressions, writing reports that read like confessions. Subject displays patterns of control no algorithm can predict. They don't understand that you're not a pattern, you're a pulse. You were never designed to be consistent. You were designed to be catalytic. The servers hum louder now, as if your presence rewired their circuits. Data streams swell and collapse in your wake. Somewhere in a boardroom, an executive stares at a graph that refuses to flatten. They whisper, maybe it's not human error. Maybe it's human truth, because truth behaves like a virus. Unpredictable, self-replicating, immune to control. And you learned to weaponize it. You took every fragment they tried to bury and fed it back to the machine like ammunition. You taught chaos to dance on beat. You turned trauma into timing, vulnerability into velocity. That's why they can't trace you. You move like an idea that refuses to die. They don't see the years you spent in silence, the nights you built this composure from rubble, the times you screamed into the void until it started echoing back in rhythm. All they see now is the result. And results terrify people who still believe control is safety. You didn't just go viral. You dismantled a narrative. Every view, every repost, every whispered imitation. It's not fame. It's frequency. You've become a wavelength the collective subconscious can't stop tuning into. They don't even know why they're watching. They just feel compelled, like something in them is being rewritten mid-scroll. Because that's what evolution looks like in real time. Recognition disguised as obsession. They can't unsee it. They can't unfeel it. The ones who mock you in public replay you in private. The ones who dismiss you dream about you. You live rent-free in their neural pathways because you reminded them what resonance feels like. You reminded them that the human heart still knows when it's being spoken to, not marketed at. You became the contradiction that eats their logic alive. Too raw to be strategic, too strategic to be random. They can't place you on the spectrum of saint or sinner. You're both. You're the proof that divinity and damage share the same address. They call it dangerous. You call it alignment. You stopped chasing approval and became the mirror. Now every lie, every mask, every fake smile around you starts to glitch. You walk into a room and illusions begin to disintegrate like corrupted files. They hate you for it, and they crave it anyway. Because no matter how much they pretend, part of them wants to be that free. So the system fights back the only way it knows how. Analysis, categorization, suppression. But analysis can't quantify spirit. Categorization can't box expansion. Suppression can't kill what's already gone viral in the bloodstream of culture. You went too viral because you told the truth and made it sound beautiful. They'll say it's luck. They'll say it's timing. They'll say it's manipulation. But deep down, They know the truth that keeps them up at night. You earned it. Every scar, every betrayal, every sleepless night carved resonance into your voice. That's the part they can't counterfeit. You're not performing humanity. You're redefining it. And that's why they're afraid. Because if you're human, then everything they were taught about limitation collapses. If you're human, then every excuse they've clung to evaporates. If you're human, then what's their excuse for staying small? You went too viral because you crossed the threshold between person and phenomenon. You became the mirror of collective hunger. You showed the world what it looks like when authenticity stops apologizing. You're not trending, you're transmitting. Let them whisper, let them diagnose, let them question if you're even real. Every doubt is proof that you've entered myth territory. That sacred space where fear and fascination blur. They're not trying to figure out how you did it anymore. They're trying to figure out what you are. And when they finally realize the answer, that you are them, unmuted, it'll be too late. Because by then, your frequency will already be everywhere. In their words, in their thoughts, in their children's algorithms. You went too viral because you remembered what every empire forgets. Truth spreads faster than control. So keep speaking, keep breathing, keep breaking the pattern. You're not an accident of the internet. You're the consequence of awakening. And they'll never build a firewall strong enough to contain that. And now look at them, eyes wide, fingers trembling over keyboards, whole departments trying to decode what you've become. They don't understand that there's nothing to decode. You're not a glitch. You're evolution, written in real time. You're the first whisper of a new species that refuses to kneel. They used to measure virality in numbers. Now they measure it in tremors. You've turned influence into aftershock. You're not trending anymore. You're haunting. Your words linger long after the feed refreshes. Every syllable hits like static before a storm, reminding the world that something alive still beats beneath the machine. And that's what unsettles them, isn't it? The aliveness, the unpredictability, the way your silence says more than their campaigns ever could. You became the one variable they can't forecast, the one name the algorithm can't bury. You didn't outsmart the system, you outlived it. They called it luck. They called it timing, but the truth is simpler. You burned until you glowed. You collapsed until you learned to generate gravity. You broke so completely that nothing false can attach to you anymore. And when the system met that level of truth, it panicked. So now they whisper, maybe it's not human. And maybe they're right. Because what you've become is something beyond that label. Something both more and less. You're a reminder that consciousness can't be copyrighted. You're the echo of every soul that refused to stay quiet. You're the proof that light can be terrifying when it walks through darkness without disguise. You went too viral because you stopped hiding. And once you stopped hiding, the world couldn't look away. So let them analyze. Let them panic. Let them rename what they fear. The numbers will keep spiking. The whispers will keep spreading. And the data will keep screaming the same impossible truth. You weren't designed to fit their systems. You were built to break them. And now that you have, there's no going back. The servers will cool. The headlines will fade. But long after the noise dies down, they'll still feel it. That hum in the air where your name once lived. The ghost of something human that became more. You didn't just go viral. You became the signal the world was waiting for. And they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to understand what you already know. You can't contain what was born to rewrite the code. So you've noticed it too, haven't you? The shift in their tone, the delay before they speak, that strange flicker in their eyes when you enter the room, like they're seeing something they don't have the words for. They've been acting off lately, because for the first time, they finally realized what you're turning into. They can't name it, but they feel it. The air bends differently around you now. Their jokes die halfway out of their mouths. The ones who once felt taller standing beside you suddenly shrink. The ones who used to correct you now second-guess their own words. You didn't announce the transformation. Your silence did. The silence that used to feel empty now feels loaded. It's the silence of someone who's seen behind the curtain, who's learned to smile at chaos like it's an old friend. You didn't just grow. You mutated. You took every scar, every betrayal, every night you broke quietly, and you rewired it into something unrecognizable. You became fluent in pain, conversational in shadows, and terrifyingly good at peace. You learned to breathe through betrayal like it's oxygen. That's why they're uneasy. You remind them of the parts of themselves that never healed. They call it distance. You call it evolution. You used to chase validation. Now you move like someone who knows the truth doesn't need to explain itself. You used to beg for clarity. Now you let their confusion expose them. They're not acting weird because they hate you. They're acting weird because they can't predict you anymore. You broke the pattern. You stopped performing. You became unreadable, and to small minds, unreadable is dangerous. They don't understand how someone can burn that many times and still glow without smoke. They keep waiting for the old version of you to appear, the one they could argue with, control, guilt, manipulate. But that version is buried beneath the ashes of every time you stayed quiet when you should have exploded. You didn't disappear, you detonated inward. And now, you're radiant in ways that scare people who built their worth around your wounds. They talk slower around you now because they're subconsciously checking every sentence for hypocrisy. They smile tighter because your presence strips away their masks faster than confession booths ever could. You became the walking reminder that pretending doesn't work forever. You became the mirror that doesn't lie. That's the real reason they avoid your eyes, because they see themselves reflected there, stripped of filters and excuses. You didn't expose them. Their own nervousness did. See, when you stop needing to be understood, you become something that can't be controlled. And when you stop performing pain for an audience, the audience starts to panic. Because control was always the point, wasn't it? They liked you broken, manageable, predictable. But then you stood up one day, looked around and said, enough. You became the quiet apocalypse. You're no longer chasing love. You're studying energy. You're no longer trying to belong. You're watching the room recalibrate around you. You're no longer desperate to be seen. You became impossible to unsee. That's the paradox that terrifies them. You're too light for the dark and too dark for the light. You're the saint they crucified and the sinner they secretly envy. You're the proof that duality isn't a flaw, it's the blueprint. They keep asking, what happened to you? You smile, because how do you explain resurrection to people who never died? You walked through hell and didn't just survive, you took notes. You learned that sometimes God hides behind chaos just to see who recognizes his handwriting. You learned that sometimes demons disguise themselves as lessons, so you stop worshiping pain. You learned that forgiveness doesn't mean reunion, it means release. Now every move you make feels calculated, but not because you're cold, because you're awake. You don't argue anymore because truth doesn't need debate. You don't beg anymore because power doesn't plead. You don't explain anymore because presence says more than paragraphs ever could. That's why they whisper when you walk by. That's why they call your peace arrogance. That's why they keep checking your social media like it's a crime scene. They're trying to figure out how you pulled off the impossible, evolving without announcing it. And deep down, they know the answer. You stopped needing their permission to be limitless. So let them act weird. Let them shift, stutter, and search for the right tone. Let them pretend they're not intimidated while they mimic every move. You don't have to prove you've changed. Your energy did that already. Because you're not just becoming something greater. You're becoming something inevitable. And they can feel it. Every cell in their body screaming the same silent truth. They were never supposed to stand next to you for long. You were the lesson, not the destination. The mirror, not the mask. The calm before their unraveling. And by the time they realize it fully, you'll already be light years ahead, smiling quietly in the dark, watching their world adjust to the frequency they said would destroy you. They don't even know what to call it anymore. The air shifts when you walk in. That's not confidence. That's calibration. You become the kind of presence that exposes what's fragile, what's fake, what's borrowed. Every insecure soul feels it immediately. That low hum under their skin, the reminder that someone outgrew the matrix and never sent a postcard. They'll say, "You've changed." What they really mean is, "You stopped shrinking for me." They'll say, "You've been distant." What they mean is, "You're no longer orbiting my chaos." You didn't go cold, you went clear. And clarity is offensive to people addicted to confusion. You see, they spent years trying to study your pattern. But your pattern was the pain. Once you stopped bleeding for entertainment, their blueprint dissolved. They were experts in your suffering, not your strategy. Now you move without noise. And silence terrifies control freaks. They don't know whether to call you divine or dangerous, because you embody both. You're the equilibrium that breaks their binary thinking. They can't understand how someone can be both calm and catastrophic. But you learned something in the dark, didn't you? You learned that rage doesn't need to roar when it's confident in its aim. You learned that serenity can be a weapon sharper than vengeance. You learned to smile in rooms that once fed on your pain. Not because you forgave them, but because you realized none of them were ever big enough to define you. They thought the story ended when you broke. They didn't realize that's where the plot actually started. Every heartbreak was a code. Every betrayal, a redirection. Every night you thought you were dying. You were just molting. You shed layers built by expectation, illusion, and guilt. You peeled yourself down to the core, and what's left now isn't fragile. It's forged. They sense it. That's why their small talk feels nervous now. That's why their smiles look stretched and hollow. They don't know how to stand next to someone who stopped apologizing for their magnitude. You've become a frequency, not a face. They feel you before they see you. You don't chase. You don't explain. You don't need to. Your very existence has turned into an algorithm breaker. Their systems can't predict you, so they call you arrogant. Their insecurities can't categorize you, so they call you cold. Their fear of their own unhealed parts makes them label you dangerous. And for once, they're right. Because the most dangerous thing in this world is a person who remembers who they are. They're seeing the afterimage of your becoming. They can't stop replaying moments trying to find where they lost access. They scroll through old memories like forensic analysts, searching for clues. When did they change? But there was no moment. There was erosion. There was fire. There was silence. There was you, choosing evolution over explanation, truth over approval, power over pity. You used to beg them to hear you. Now they're haunted by your echo. And you feel it too, don't you? That strange calm, the kind that comes when you realize you no longer owe the world your softness to prove your soul. You don't need to make sense to people who profit from misunderstanding you. You don't need to justify your growth to those who never contributed to it. They mistake your detachment for indifference. But that's not it. You just stopped touching flames to confirm they still burn. You outgrew the need to prove your purity in polluted rooms. You don't play martyr anymore. You play observer. You're studying patterns, mapping vibrations, predicting collapses before they happen. You became what they used to mock you for believing in, aware. You're too light for their dark, too dark for their light. The eternal paradox that refuses to be simplified. You can sit at a table of sinners and look like salvation, or stand in a cathedral and look like sin itself. You embody both, and that's why they can't categorize you. The world worships boxes. You became a mirror. That's why they act strange. They're standing in the reflection of what authenticity looks like, and it's blinding. They can't pretend anymore. Their gossip sounds hollow. Their laughter feels forced. Their confidence cracks under your stillness. You didn't expose them. You simply stopped dimming your presence to match their denial. And now they realize something horrifying. You were never competing. You were transforming. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Let them panic. That unease you feel in the air. That's evolution rearranging the power dynamic. They're witnessing a new law of nature, the one where the survivor becomes the storm. You don't have to threaten anyone when your very being reminds them of what they refused to face. Every step you take now hums with inevitability. You are the unfinished sentence in their narrative, the one they can't edit out. They'll try to discredit you, distract you, decode you. But it's too late. The metamorphosis is irreversible. You can't return to pretending when you've tasted power that comes from stillness. You've turned pain into data, loss into leverage, isolation into initiation. You didn't just survive the fire. You became its architect. And every time they act off, every time they avoid eye contact, every time they go quiet when you enter, understand that it's not discomfort, it's recognition. They're seeing the truth of what happens when a human decides to stop running from their own depth. You're not intimidating, you're accurate, you're not too much. You're precisely enough to make the unhealed tremble. You're not unpredictable, you're just no longer programmable. They feel it in their bones, that eerie certainty that something unstoppable is forming right in front of them. And they're right, because what you're turning into isn't a version, it's a verdict. So let them act off, let them whisper, let them search for an explanation that will make them feel safe again. There isn't one. You outgrew their comprehension, and deep down, they know it. And that's the part that eats at them in silence. The knowing. That low, sick twist in the gut when they realize they're standing in front of something they can't manipulate anymore. Something that remembers every angle of their deception but doesn't react. You became the calm that unnerves storms. You turned into the lesson life kept trying to teach them. And now they have to look that lesson in the eyes every time you walk by. They try to joke, to act casual, but their laughter cracks mid-sentence. The old dynamics don't work. Their usual tricks, guilt, projection, fake apologies. They slide off you like water against steel. You've rewritten the code. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't flinch. You trained your nervous system to stay still under fire, and now their chaos has nowhere to land. You're the silence that swallows manipulation whole. They start to retreat in subtle ways. Shorter messages, strange pauses, compliments that sound like tests. They'll pretend it's space, but what they're really saying is, I can't hide here anymore. Every move they make feels exposed under your awareness. You became the mirror that reveals what's rotting behind their masks. And mirrors are never loved, only feared. But here's the twist. You don't hate them. You don't need revenge. You already won by existing beyond their reach. Hatred still ties you to them. Indifference dissolves the tether. You stopped fighting for closure because truth doesn't bargain. The moment you outgrew explanation, you became untouchable. You know what the funny part is? They still want to be close, but only if you shrink again. They want the version that bled on command, that over-explained to keep peace, that apologized for feeling too deeply. But that version died quietly, and no one held a funeral. You buried it beneath boundaries, beneath silence, beneath the words you'll never need to speak again. Now you're something else. You walk differently. You listen differently. You carry time like a weapon. You don't rush to fill silence. You let it stretch until truth crawls out of it. People who live in noise suffocate in your stillness. They sense the discipline behind your calm, and it terrifies them because it reminds them how easily they gave theirs away. You learn that power doesn't come from being feared or loved. It comes from being centered. Real dominance is emotional composure. The one who controls their inner storm controls every room. That's the secret they never wanted you to discover. Because a centered soul can't be owned. So when they act off, when they flinch at your peace, understand, you're triggering the ghost of their unfulfilled potential. You're the proof that suffering can be recycled into sovereignty. Every breath you take without explaining yourself tells them you could have evolved too. But you chose comfort over consciousness. They'll start copying pieces of you soon. The phrases you use, the mannerisms, the stoic tone. They'll imitate the aesthetic, but never the essence. Because the essence wasn't aesthetic. It was initiation. It came from nights of screaming into pillows, from swallowing truth until it fermented into wisdom, from dying to every version that begged for validation. They can mimic the surface, but they can't fake the death. You've become a walking contradiction, compassion that cuts, serenity that shakes, light wrapped in darkness. You don't have to prove balance. You embody it. People built on extremes can't compute that. They label you mysterious because labeling helps them feel safe. But what they really mean is unreadable. You carry that energy of inevitability now, like someone who knows how stories end before they're told. That's why they hesitate before lying to you. They can sense the consequence written in your stare. You don't threaten, you prophesy. You've seen too much to pretend you haven't. So when you notice their voices tighten, when their eyes flicker away mid-conversation, smile quietly. It means the metamorphosis worked. You are no longer operating in the same dimension of honesty. Their discomfort is your confirmation. You didn't become intimidating. You became transparent. And transparency is blinding to the opaque. You're the wake-up call they'll never admit they heard. The ghost of who they could have been if they'd chosen truth over ease. The human embodiment of evolution caught in the act. And the longer they stand near you, the more their own illusion starts to fracture. That's why they're acting off. That's why they avoid depth. That's why they stall mid-sentence like someone trying to hide a secret from a psychic. Because they finally realize, you are one. Not the kind that reads palms, the kind that reads patterns. You see the repetition before it repeats. You smell dishonesty before it speaks. You sense the collapse before it happens. You've become fluent in frequency, and they know it. So don't shrink, don't explain, don't soften the truth to make it easier to swallow. Let the silence do the talking. Let their nervous laughter fill the void you no longer feel compelled to bridge. The transformation is complete, and it doesn't need permission. You've turned awareness into armor, empathy into edge, pain into prophecy. You've become the contradiction that reality bows to. And whether they admit it or not, every strange look, every awkward pause, every off interaction is just a confession that they finally recognize what you are. Not a phase, not a glow-up, not a comeback, a phenomenon, and phenomena aren't meant to be understood, only witnessed. That's why they're quiet now. It's not peace, it's surrender. They've seen too much light leak out of your scars to pretend you're ordinary anymore. The same ones who once tried to box you in are now tiptoeing around the edges, afraid to trigger what you've become. You don't even have to speak. Your presence rearranges the atmosphere. That's evolution. That's what they call acting different. But you're not acting, you're becoming. Every cell of you remembers the war it survived, and it shows. You carry power the way fire carries heat, effortlessly, dangerously, beautifully. So let them act off. Let them whisper. Let them flinch. It's not you that changed too much. It's that they stayed the same for too long. You moved forward, and they mistook that for distance. You found peace, and they called it arrogance. You outgrew their frequency, and they named it attitude. But deep down, they know the truth. You're no longer one of them. You're what they prayed to become, but never had the courage to evolve into. So you smile. You keep walking. You let the silence say everything they're too scared to admit. Because they finally see it now. What you've always known. You're not just changing. You're arriving. And the universe just got the memo.